Welcome to the very first Mr. Haden Ag lesson of 2020. You guys might recognize me from Independence High School. That's because I'm a teacher there. But welcome to my basement. Now, I want to get started today with some ground rules and explain that you might hear some noises in the background. That's my sump pump running. We've had a lot of snow that's melted recently, and from time to time, we'll pause for sump pump station identification. But a little bit about myself. I'm in my 10th year of teaching. I currently teach at Independence High School. This video, though, is all my own freelance ag education. None of this is sponsored or endorsed by Independence High School or no association. Not that it's not good knowledge, but probably something legal. So I just want to invite you to listen to all our episodes and watch online here. As you can see, we're very primitive in terms of our visual aids. Right now, I'm waiting on Amazon to give me that whiteboard. Should be here on Friday. So like I said, 10th year teaching ag education. I have 3 children, grew up in Northwest Iowa, have a bunch of different variety of experiences, both in FFA and ag education. But if you're familiar with the current events right now with the coronavirus, Iowa is currently under a 4-week hiatus for school. And I know there's kids out there that are hankering for some ag education. So without any further ado, I'm going to start our lesson today. And where else to start but domestication. Now, you might wonder, I thought, Mr. Haden, that the dog was always domesticated first. Well, there's a lot of controversy, but most people believe that the first animal to be domesticated was the goat, somewhere around 9,000 to 14,000 years ago in Asia or the Middle East. The goat was the original grocery store. Better than a Fairway because it came to you. You could get milk, you could get its wool or sheep or hair. You could also get different types of products from meat and to bones, anything that would be of use to you in early civilization. And then later on, a lot of people believe that the small grains were first domesticated in Africa near the Nile River, which some people still don't believe it is the longest river, and they're just in denial. And so part of that is that the early Egyptian culture, they needed barley, wheat to feed their growing population, and this allowed them to advance their civilization. Now, you might be wondering, here in Iowa, northeast Iowa, we raise a lot of corn and soybeans. How come I don't see those types of crops here in Iowa? Well, part of that is we have some of the most rich soil in the world. I found this in my backyard 30 minutes ago, and it is still a little cold. But if you look very carefully, you'll notice it is dark in color, very kind of porous, a lot of loam soil. We'll talk about what the good qualities of soil are later on, but this type of soil is not going to grow wheat the best. Now, our corn and soybean production we have in Iowa, it's amongst some of the best in the world. We kind of hold our standard in Iowa to growing some of the best crops in terms of corn and soybeans. We also lead the nation in pig production, egg production, and corn production. But that was off on a tangent, like you guys, like students like to get me on. But back to domestication there, you can't have your civilization without a steady food supply. And then that brings us to our next creature, the cat. Early purposes for the cat ranged anywhere from a companion animal to both grain storage, getting mice and grain storage in early Egypt. Once you grow the crop, that's half the battle, but storing it and keeping it rodent-free was the other battle. Cats were the original predator to the mice that help keep your grain storage very clean and pure to eat. So now we shift our view to North America. When you think about North America, you think about the wolf, you think about the domestication of the dog. Currently, today, there are over 300 different breeds of dog in the American Kennel Association Club. I believe it is one of the most bred animals in all of history. Anywhere from a Chihuahua to a Great Dane to a Mastiff. The variety of sizes of the dog is just almost incomprehensible. That reminds me of my favorite joke is, what do you call a dog with no legs? Actually, it doesn't matter what you call it, it's not going to come. So if you notice some silence in the background, it's because just like my classroom, none of my students get my jokes, but that's okay. You're here to learn, not for funny business. So with that, when we turn our attention, like I said, to North America, the wolf domesticated into the dog. You see Native Americans use it for a variety of purposes, for protection, anywhere from using it also to pulling sleds and things of that nature. And it does become a companion animal. So when we think about agriculture and the definition, it ties closely to domestication because agriculture is the use of plants and animals for human purposes. And once again, like we mentioned before, this poorly drawn cow right here that looks like a dog as well, most ag teachers are known for the lack of art skills. That's why we're ag teachers. And so this half dog, half cow, cog if you will, He's standing right here. This does not look like the original cow. We had the Bos Taurus and the Bos Indicus cattle. And from there, we developed our different breeds of cattle. Anywhere from dairy production, mainly for milk, to our meat production, mainly looking at our Black Angus cross, some of our Simmental breeds. And then if you notice, you might be familiar with this plant right here. What do you see? Well, that's a corn plant. A lot of you are looking forward to graduating soon, and you'll notice that the corn is one of the most smartest plants. It gets its tassel every year for graduation. But it is a great listener as well because it's all ears right now. But at this point, you're saying, Mr. Haden, I just want to leave right now because these jokes are terrible. But if you look at this corn plant right here, the original plant that we domesticated corn from was called Tesenti in Mexico. And from there, it only had a few kernels. But what the ancient civilizations did is they saved the kernels back from some of the best producing crops. And from there, started the first hybridization of the corn plant. The corn plant would become the staple crop in a lot of the Midwest and North America. We also see a lot of corn production in the Ukraine, South America. Many different civilizations would depend on corn as a source of food. So in terms of domestication, when you think about it, we have our crops that we depend on and our livestock we depend on. A lot of people would say there's about 7 to 8 different types of species of animals that we depend about 80% of our food on. And there's about 15% of crops that depend, that produce about 90% of the food in the world. Some of the ones that you might not be familiar with, Iowa, might be anywhere from rice to cotton. Those are found in other regions based on the growing temperature, environment, growing degree days. And like I said, we got the sump pump. First call here, station identification. All right, get that excess water up and out into a field tile. And so I was talking about corn, I think. Well, I might have to pause to recap my thoughts there. Yeah, corn, one of the best grains out there in terms of domestication. We keep continuing to genetically modify it to produce more and more for an ever-growing world population. You might hear the number 9 billion people on this planet in the year 2050. It's the year 2020 right now, so we have 30 years to go, and we're sitting at about 7 billion people. So we got to continue to change this planet to meet the needs of humans. And food was the early purpose of all different types of crops, but today we see everything from clothing to fuel to food to livestock food as well. And one of the things I do want to mention, as this is the first episode, and I have no notes at all, I really don't have any type of speaking points, but I do want to mention that in the comments of this video, if you want to learn something about agriculture and would like to see the next episode, maybe focus on that a little bit, please post it in the comments. Also, from time to time, as need arises, we will hope to have some special guests. Now, I know what you're thinking, Mr. Haden, I thought we were supposed to be in social isolation. Well, that's you normally at school without your friends. But in this example, our goal is to keep us away from coronavirus, all right? And so when it does get pretty tight and we all are supposed to be quarantining ourselves in our homes, we might have to cross out the special guest for a while. But we do hope to hear from some people with direct production experience, their stories in agriculture, and hopefully they can add to our story that we talked about today in terms of domestication and the basic definition of agriculture. So with that, like I said, this first episode, really trial and error. You guys will be amazed to see the setup. I currently have my camera being held by a paint roller. So if the quality of the video is poor, I painted this wall last night to get ready. The set has been set up in the last 24 hours. This is not a very good structural pig, only for demonstration. My kids like to bounce on this. This is a rubber pig, but no pigs were harmed in the filming of this video. Like I said, our goal here is to have a little bit of fun, but also to teach you a little bit about agriculture. If anything is incorrect, if you believe I said anything correct, that is definitely possible. And if you'd like to correct me, you get to be my next special guest. So with that, I'm going to wrap up this first episode of Mr. Haden's Ag Lessons, and we'll see you next time.